What's up, guys? It's me, Crashy, here, talking about some Infinite Crisis on YouTube. Huh. I didn't mean for my little pop-up thing to pop up here. Let's get rid of that. Alright, so today we're going to be doing a bit of a specific discussion. It's something that I haven't really covered, mostly just because it really does come down to preference. There really is like... There's like one wrong way to do this, so I don't want to say there's no wrong way to do this and it's all preference, but there is a wrong way to do it, and then there's a few right ways that you can do it, and we're going to talk about that today, and this is covering Marauder items. Now, there are different things that the Marauder items are good and are definitely not good for. And for the sake of this discussion, we're mostly going to cover Marauder Knife, since the majority of junglers, or the majority of junglers that would even really consider, you know, investing in an item like this would be AD Bruisers, AD Assassins. And then we'll talk a little bit about Ring and Knife, or about Marauder Ring and Marauder Shield as well. So first off, we're going to take a look at one of my pages. This is a pretty standard Assassin page for me, and this is definitely something you would see in Gotham Divided 100%, because of the cost efficiency and because of the ability that the Marauder item brings to the table in terms of clearing for Gotham Divided. Now, obviously, we're not talking about Gotham Divided, we're talking about Coast City, and this is where a lot of the argument has just innately stemmed from. But there are things we need to talk about discussing this particular topic. So let's talk about what Marauder does as an item, and I do have this pulled up right here. So we're going to be looking at cost, we're going to be looking at, well, turn my monitor's capture on. We're going to be looking at cost, we're going to be looking at stats, and we're going to be looking at potential different scenarios. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. And there's been a few different ways people have been starting. We'll go ahead and cover some of those. They've been starting Tier 1 Marauder Knife, Tier 1 Coda, health pots. They've been starting Tier 2 Marauder Knife, health pots. They've been starting Coda with no Marauder and no health pots usually. So there's a few different ways that people are really looking to do a build, like a start. And we're going to talk about what may and may not be right, and what is situational, and different preferences. I don't want to say what's wrong and what's right. We're going to be looking at the different preferences. So the most recent, and it was prior to this, it was just taking Tier 2 Marauder Knife and pots and going straight into Coda. Now, the reason this whole discussion stems around Coda and Marauder Knife is because these are low cost, like easy to build AD weapons. Now they bring flat AD to the table, and they bring some other benefits as well, especially on Coda Blade. It's going to bring you your flat penetration, and flat pen early is an amazing stat. It's top tier stat, so that's why this is all into contention, and we have the Coda Blade brought up over here on Dawnbase as well. So we're going to be taking a look at these and the mods that people run and different scenarios. So the initial build that people were doing, and this is the build that I run, is you start with 1,000 gold. I was spending 750 of it on Marauder Tier 2, which is going to be 10 AD, and then you get 20% bonus damage to creatures, and you're going to do basic attacks, yada yada yada. Marauder Edge. Marauder Edge is pretty standard. You understand how that works. 30 damage, bypass armor, and restore 5 health. So a little bit of sustain on there. And then pots. I do 2 modular health vials, which is kind of negligible. You don't really know how much that restores, or what the value is there. So that was pretty standard for a little while, and then people were just jumping right into Coda. And this is the one scenario where I just feel it is wrong. Now let's talk about why I think this scenario specifically is wrong. Is because if you're gonna spend the 750, understand that 10 AD is not cost efficient with 750 credits. It's not. You're spending more than you would for 10 AD. So why are you doing it? Are you doing it for the damage percentage? Because most people's general consensus is that Coast City jungle is really not, you don't really need the damage percentage to clear jungle, and I 100% agree. You don't really need the percentages. So if you're a person who does Tier 2 Marauder in Dakota, this is the one scenario where you're just wrong. You're wasting 500 credits. You may as well just build Tier 1 or not build it at all. Zay, for example, person off the top of my head, me and him were having a discussion about it, and he doesn't build Marauder at all. He just starts Coda, and although it's not something I personally care for, it's more cost efficient, more mod slot efficient than doing Tier 2 Marauder Knife. There's no point to spend that extra 500 gold difference or even 750 gold difference if you're not going to build the item. Just don't. There's no point. You don't need the percentages. You've already convinced yourself that you don't need the percentages, so don't spend the credits. Okay, so that's one scenario. I think that should be myth busted and out of the way. Let's not talk about that anymore. Now, there's a couple other scenarios that I think are viable, and it comes down to preference. So, the most recent start that I've been seeing AD junglers do is Tier 1 Marauder Knife, Tier 1 Coda Blade, and then pods. Now, that's going to be the same cost, 250 plus 500, so that's going to be a total of 750 you would see if you would got for Tier 2. And it's going to give you a total of 12 attack damage and a 10% bonus, damage bonus to creatures. And then you get a little bit of a weakened Marauder Edge as well. So let's talk about that. You're spending the exact same credits, you're getting your health pots, and you're getting 2 more AD. Now, if we're talking about in terms of jungle clear or in terms of what the better start would be, Marauder Tier 2 is still better. 20% of 10 is still higher than 10% of 12. So understand that you're still getting more clear out of Tier 2 Marauder Knife. But why is Tier 1 Marauder Knife and Tier 1 Coda Blade viable? Because you understand that you're not building the Marauder Knife. If you personally want to get to your Coda Blade faster, you want to build an item really quickly, then you can spend this 250. I don't really know why you're doing it, because it's literally only like a little bit of sustain and a little bit of damage percentage, but it's an option. I think it's decently viable. I think ultimately it's a bit of a waste on Marauder Knife 1. I mean, the sellback cost isn't bad, so you can literally just sell this. So it's just like a little bit of early clear, dump it off, get it out of the way. It's basically the same as just starting with a Coda, more or less. Now, the other thing about this particular start that I actually enjoy about this, is that it doesn't allow you or doesn't force you to spend all of your credits, meaning that you'll actually get health pots out of this start. Because another actual, and I agree with this, a viable start is just Coda Blade 2. You get a ton of AD for 1,000 credits. It's the most cost-efficient AD I think you can get in the game, and you don't have to worry about jungle passives. You just farm. You have your AD. You kickstarted into your core item build, and you're moving. Here's the problem with this start that I don't really care for, and it's not wrong. It's a preference. I don't really care for the fact that you don't get modular health vials or the pots. And the reason that's a problem to me is because as a player who's like trying to farm and put myself ahead, I have a hard time passing by a turret or wanting to go to base to pick up health pots. Like, once I've got my core item build going, I'm just moving, you know what I mean? Like, I'm ready for that next 750 to get me to Tier 3, or I'm ready for that next 500 gold to buy my next item, whatever I'm doing. So this, I feel like, is fundamentally flawed, because even though you don't really need the health pots, later on you have no idea how much they help. You just randomly pop on a pot, or shit, sometimes it even pops itself for you. So this start, while very cost effective, you're not getting any jungle passes out of it. All you're doing is it's a really greedy start. It's a very selfish start to get your pen that much faster. And it's viable, but not my favorite. Now, again, keep in mind we're talking unrelated to mods at the moment, because we're talking about the low-end purchases. But I'm going to start talking about mods pretty soon, and the differences of AD. Now, my personal favorite start, which is mathematically the fastest, and in my eyes the most cost efficient, and I'll explain that in a second once we start talking about mods, is Tier 2 Marauder Knife and 2 modular health vials. Now, why I think it is the fastest. Again, you're getting a 20% damage bonus to 10 damage versus a 10% bonus to the Coda Blade's 12 damage. So that's actually a higher number. I'm not going to do the math. Whatever, you can do it if you want. It's a higher number. It's not by much, but it's still higher. And you get a bit more sustain out of it. And you're doing more damage on Marauder Edge as well. So you're getting a faster clear. You're spending just a smidgen more for the AD. You're literally missing out on 2 AD in terms of cost efficiency. 2 AD. And it's going to kickstart you into the next part of my discussion, why I personally build and mod Marauder Knife. Now, at Marauder Knife 2, the total cost is $12.50, so this is going to be a 500 gold jump, and the AD on a Tier 3 item, 20 damage. Not so good. Let's talk about this and why it's this way, and then we're going to understand how the mods affect it and such. Previously, there was a problem with the game where it became too cost-effective for marksmen and lane champions to build Marauder Knife over Coda Blade. And the reason being was not only was it acting as Coda Blade for like a minimal amount of reduced penetration, it was actually helping them clear and secure jungle objectives. So they could leave lane really quickly, help take Raider really, really fast. They could leave lane really quick, go take a jungle camp. It was a bit overpowered. Now, with that being said, do I think the Marauder items as a concept are where they need to be? Not particularly. I do think they need a little bit of tweaking, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more later on in this video, but that's not really what we're talking about. So Tier 3 Marauder, it's a total of 1250, and that's 20 attack damage. In terms of cost efficiency, it's not really there total cost-wise, and we already talked about that. We're spending 750 for 10 AD, where you could spend 500 for 12. So we understand that it's not that cost-effective, but we're looking at it in terms of each individual tier purchase. So if you have this item, Tier 2 Marauder, like I said, 750 with pots, you're getting the fastest clear, the most sustain at level 1. Tier 2 Marauder knife with pots. The fastest clear, undeniably, mathematically proven, and the most sustain. It gives you more sustain on passives, and it also allows you to still pick up your 2 vials. So unlike Coda Blade Start, where you get no vials, unlike Marauder 1, where you're missing out on passive percentage and sustain on percentage as well. So, Tier 3, now, here is the argument that I make more often than not, and there's going to be a front-end argument to this, like for my cause, and then there's going to be a back-end argument that's against me as well. And again, this is where the preference comes into things. If you spend 500 gold to go from Tier 2 to Tier 3, that 500 gold in somebody else's eyes, or in my eyes, is going to be the minus 500 that you have on your Coda Blade. So I'm missing out on this item here, personally, because I didn't spend it right here. Now, obviously, if you're one of the Tier 1 starters or the Coda Blade starters, this argument gets a little diagonal, because we're not really relating it to that. You're already 500 over here. So I understand if you're trying to rush your Coda Blade, and like I said, that's viable, and it comes down to preference with not wanting percentages. I'm spending money on percentages and sustain that you don't need, but are still useful throughout the course of the game, because they physically, mathematically, numerically increase your jungle clear, not only with jungle camps, but with Raider and Doomsday Device Guardian. So, but let's talk cost efficiency. So $500 or 500 credit gap here to here, and you're getting 10 AD. Now, not worth it. That 500 would have been better served on Coda Blade, but there just so happens to be a Tier 3 plus 10 AD mod for Marauder Knife. Now, that means I'm spending 500 credits for not a 10 damage increase, but a 20 damage increase. Now, look at the cost efficiency on that. If I was to stop there, or even just looking at cost efficiency as a whole, 500 credits gives you 12 AD on Coda Blade, one of the most AD cost-efficient items in the game. So, cost efficiency-wise, boom, check, got it. Percentage damage-wise, boom, check, it's there. Not only am I increasing my clear, this percentage, and I think this is the core thing that people don't really understand, this percentage is not a flat number. It is a percentage. It doesn't make my clear better when I hit this item. It does, but understand, it doesn't stop there. I'm going to build a Coda Blade after this. It's going to go up. That percentage number is going to go up. I'm going to build a Deathstrokes Claymore. That percentage number is going to go up. This is scaling. This is math. We are talking about math here. This item will continue, this number, this 30%, will continue, undeniably, mathematically, go up. That means when you don't buy this item, you are giving away damage on clear. Understand that. Now, that doesn't in itself prove that this is the better purchase. It is a preference on whether or not you want to increase your damage clear scaling throughout the course of the game. And I understand, you don't need it. I do. I've jungled with Coda. I've tested it. I don't like it. This is why I'm doing it. This is why I'm explaining in this video. So, this would be a 30 attack damage item, and we're going to stop here. Now, let's stop here because let's talk really quickly in general about Marauder items as a whole. Tier 4 Marauder items, every single one of them, not cost efficient, not worth it. Here's the reason why. They did this thing where they added sustain on Tier 4 instead of giving it real raw stats. So I think as a concept for Turbine and for Infinite Crisis, for Icy Columbus, I think they need to just look at restructuring Tier 4 Marauder, maybe restructuring all of them a tidbit, and getting rid of some of this extra stat sustain that nobody's buying anyways, to make it just a higher number. Like, even make this like 35 or 40. Just give us a bigger number, because then my argument would really serve true, because this would be a flat, big damage item. It would be a perfect item. Now, here's the back end argument. I've already given you the front end argument as to why it's worth it and it's cost efficient. Because right after this, I have a 30 damage item that was super cost efficient that moves right into another really cost efficient 80 item. Boom, I'm getting damage out fast. Not only am I getting damage out fast, look at my mod page. I'm getting my mods out faster than you. I'm getting them out faster than you. If you're not, unless we're doing a different thing where you're doing Coda and I'm doing Marauder Knife. Otherwise, I'm still getting my mods out faster than you or on the same pace. Now, if you have a page that's like Coda, Deathstrokes, Atomic Axe, we're about on the same pace because I'm gonna keep getting my items out at the same pace as you are because I'm buying this in place of whatever your third item is. Now, here's the back end argument. One, I'm delaying my penetration. Now, penetration is really strong, like we said earlier. It's also just strong anytime in the game because the sooner you have that penetration, the more damage you're dealing. Now, so I'm trading early AD cost efficiency and mod slot efficiency for a little bit of a delay on penetration. Understand, I'm delaying my penetration by like 500 gold or a total of 1250 gold if you're staying at tier 1 Marauder Knife. So that's 1250 gold that you're putting me back on what is it, 10 pen? So 10 pen. And then later on, once your Atomic Axe comes out, I'm going to be a little bit 1250 behind on that as well. So, but my argument to that, and I've had counter arguments come at me before, is that you really need that penetration not only just for ganks, because ganks are important, but on Coast City it's not the easiest map to gank. You've set it up, you understand how it is, especially in higher tier play where you're not just constantly ganking. And you really need that penetration around team fights, and you just need it. It's just a necessity. So I've never had a problem reaching this item before any specific point. Like, even before Raider. Like, I don't have a problem getting to my Kyoto tier 3 to the point where I've got my core stats that I need out on top of having other really cost-efficient stats. So my argument to that is don't pay attention to it. It's negligible because you don't need penetration to clear your jungle. And yeah, I'm a little bit behind on jungle ganks, but team fight wise, null and void, arbitrary, it's fine. So here's the other argument, and this is the one that I deem a little bit more viable in terms of not building Marauder Knife. Marauder Knife tier 4 as a concept, like I said, is not very good. You don't even look at them. You don't even look at the passives, really. I mean, yeah, it goes up, but once you buy tier 4, you don't care. You don't look at the lifesteal because, again, once you buy it, you don't care. So you're really paying the extra 1,000 gold for 10 AD, which is definitely not cost efficient. But, again, my counter argument to that is that I have really no need to sell this item. The sellback cost on like tier 3, tier 2, or tier 1, to me, I've already committed to buying the item as a whole. The only one I would sell back is tier 1 because it's got good sellback value, and that goes back into just rushing your Coda Blade from Marauder Knife to tier 2 or to Coda, which is a very viable way to start. It's preference again. But I see no reason to sell this. It's a 40 AD item that suits pretty well with most other AD items until you absolutely have to sell it or you just hit late game. Most games on Coast City, I don't really see going to full 6-slot items, and if they are, it's also a flaw in the map, in my opinion. Also, keep in mind, I think it's pretty general consensus that most players in the community think that the Doomsday Device and Raider are way too easy to take. So I'm expecting, not only am I advocating that you buy Marauders and increase those jungle passives, but I'm expecting those to go up in terms of difficulty as well. So these are also going to be more valuable. These passives are going to be more valuable as the course and the state of the game changes a little bit as well. So let's go ahead and look at some of these 80 items. I just want to kind of compare to take a look at. So a finished item, it's a 40 damage item on par with Marauder. Just looking at damage at the end. Again, obviously you're paying for different stats, but I'm just comparing flat AD. Obviously I know it's not really relative when we're talking about cost, but I just want to look at some of the items you might be giving up by not building. So here it has plus 10 AD and gives you some other things. Okay, no big deal. 40 damage. This would be 50 modded. 40 damage would be 60 modded. 40 damage, and this item is almost not even worth talking about right now. 50 damage, 30 damage. This would be 40 modded. 30 damage. So you can see, if anything, you're giving up about plus 10 damage and maybe a little bit of other stats by keeping Marauder at late game. But again, the majority of my argument is that you don't really ever 6-slot. Like, you hardly ever 6-slot. And you know, I'll bite my tongue the one day where I play a game of Coast City and I'm full 6-slotted versus the enemy team 6-slot, because at that point, if they have a different item modded, I do believe they would have maybe like a 10 AD advantage on me. I don't know. I don't even think it matters, to be honest. So I mean, it's like giving up a mod at the end of the game, but not really, because you got the mod earlier in the game, so it doesn't really matter. It's pretty even. It's pretty parallel across the board. Now, in terms of Marauder Shield, I did say I want to talk about this. Marauder Shield and Marauder Ring. These items, I don't know. They're a little weird. Like, I think if they want to have, like, I've kind of had this argument about the current state of the jungle where, like, it just feels odd that anybody can jungle. So my question is, if they want it that way, this needs to be an actual power damage item, not like a hybrid tank / damage item, because this item on most tanks is the better option to go. But when you're a tank, you don't give a shit about jungle clear. Your jungle clear sucks. So I've been buying tier 2 Marauder on my tanks and just going straight into tank items. I don't mod it. I don't take it. I was previously, but I'm kind of getting ready for the new Ruby of Life, and the new Ruby of Life I'm expecting will have a decent mod for it. Maybe it won't. So if it doesn't, maybe I'll mod this and go tier 3 for that little extra damage. I don't know. I can't imagine that I will, but we'll see. So, and then the same goes for shield. Like, tier 2 shield on some tank junglers is pretty good. You get everything you need out of it, so there's kind of just no reason to invest in the higher tiers of shield and ring. So that's the majority of my argument. Again, let's do like a quick recap. Tier 1, hold on, let me pull it back up really quickly. So, a couple of different starts that I think are viable. Tier 2 Marauder into Tier 3 modded Marauder. Viable, fastest, one of the most cost-efficient, and increases scaling jungle passive. That increases. In my opinion, most viable in terms of mod slot and cost efficiency. Marauder Tier 1 and Codablade Tier 1, great cost efficiency, great mod slot efficiency. You're pretty much only setting yourself back like 250 gold. You're getting all your mods and damage out really, really fast, and you're getting your pen out for the cost of no real percentages and no scaling anything here. And then flat Coda buying, like tier 2 start Coda Blade, which again is my least favorite of the 3 viables, but I mean it's pretty viable. I mean, it's undeniable. It's a good amount of damage. You get straight into your core build. You'll probably have to invest in health pots later, so I'm not sure this is any more viable than doing tier 1. But just a thought on Marauders. Again, I do think that they're going to go up in viability a bit if the map objectives like Raider and Doomsday Device go up a bit, but it all really just comes down to preference. I just get kind of like peeved when people are just like, oh, you never go past tier 2, and it's like, I mean, I'm one of the better junglers in North America right now, and I do, and I see the reason to, and it's a viable source of damage and increased jungle passive clear. Like I just don't, like, it almost blows my mind that nobody's looking at this 30% and just being like, oh wow, I can clear faster and go gank in the time that you're sitting there clearing your camp. Like, it helps. I mean, I don't know, I'm getting my mods and my damage out really fast while you're kind of sitting on a Coda Blade. So that's my personal opinion, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Again, no hate. Let's all just talk about preference. The word preference is beautiful in this discussion because we're all different people. We can do whatever we want. It's all about what you're comfortable with, how you enjoy the game. If you're winning buying Coda Blade, dude, fucking do it. Go do it, man. So enjoy the discussion, enjoy the video. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you subscribe if you are interested in future videos and future updates. And catch you guys later.